Welcome back to the Mining and Markets podcast by Senergy Capital. For those of you who aren't familiar with the podcast or just tuning in for the first time, this is a weekly episode where we feature CEOs from the mining and resources space. Joining me today is the CEO of T2 Metals Corp, formerly known as AGLAF Copper, Mr. Mark Saxon. Mark, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm glad that we finally got a time to do this. How are you doing today?
Elaine, good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk. Really appreciate it. And I think we're going to have a good chat about T2 Metals and other things. Looks like your podcast's doing really well.
Thank you. Let's jump right into it. Mark, can you give a brief overview on T2, maybe a little bit about the history, the name, the people involved, and let's start with that.
Yeah, for sure. And T2 is an interesting company, TSX listed, as you know, and with a ticker code of TWO. The company is quite old, and I think it was originally formed back in the 1980s, and it was working particularly in South America on precious metal projects, and I think Peru was its main focus. But it kind of had a bit of a varied life through until 2017, when during tough markets, then the decision was made by some former management to roll the company back and take it back as a shell. And so it was 2020, so really during the depths of COVID that I got involved and was asked to come on as CEO during that time to see if we could find some projects and find some money and stimulate the company in new directions. So the company, I guess, originally was called AGLAF American Gold, which was, I guess, that focus on South America, where AGLA is eagle in Spanish. We took on the name T2, I guess it's about 6 months ago now, and T2 really reflects, I suppose, the way we're heading as a company in the future, which is part of the transition economy, I suppose, the transition to better metals and mining, the transition to better ways of producing energy and transport. And we're very pleased to be part of that sector and cycle.
So battery metals is the focus. What metals and commodities in particular are you guys going after?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's not new, and I'm sure you've spoken to many people who are focused on that battery metal space, but really it's a breath of fresh air into the mining industry where we've got to catch up, we've got to change, and part of that is moving away from carbon-based fuels into renewable energy and more sustainable transport. It's not a fast transition. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to take quite a long time. But as part of that transition, there's some really key strategic metals that are needed in very large demands. So we can run through a long list, but copper, nickel, lithium, graphite, probably silver, rare earth metals, all of those have really bright futures because of that expanding market in the energy transition. And when, I guess, our particular focus is on copper at the moment, and when you look at all of the copper that's been mined in the world to date, we have to mine just as much copper in about the next 10 years to support the aims of the energy transition. So it's a massive hurdle, and it needs T2 to be successful and many other companies like T2 to be successful as well.
I want to talk about some of the projects that you guys have in your portfolio, specifically Lida. Can you talk a little bit about the location and the geology of the project?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I guess at the highest level where exploring for copper, it puts us in the western part of the US is a great place to be. And so we undertook our own project generation and identified a number of targets that we saw as under shallow cover. And that's really a nice place to be in the US because there hasn't been all that much undercover exploration completed, particularly in Nevada. So we had a look at some ideas on porphyry-style mineralization. So quite focused on porphyry-style mineralization in Nevada, which is underdone. And in the area that's called the Walker Lane, which I guess is hard up against the California border, there's a number of copper mines and projects there. And we picked up another one, which is called Lida, which has a lot of old copper workings at surface. So we went and we did an IP survey across that area, and we identified a really strong chargeability target and a really strong resistivity target. And so the chargeability is the thing we focused on first. And we saw that as, chargeability relates to the presence of usually sulfide in the ground. And so the sulfide conducts the electricity a little bit better, and that's essentially the chargeability target. So we went and we drilled some holes into that, and we found, lots of pyrite, lots of really good, strong porphyry-style alteration. And in the bottoms of the holes, we came into what's the resistivity target, which is very strong silicification. And that really looks like a very interesting copper or gold target. And we're on the Walker Lane, not far from Beatty. We're in the heart of sort of one of the key gold mining districts of the US, and so we're really excited about the look of those rocks. The drilling results, the assays were not spectacular, and but there was enough in there to be very interesting, and the look of the rocks, the strength of this alteration is really exciting.
A few months after drilling Lida, you guys announced some new targets identified at Cora and also completed some geophysics at Sheridan. Was there a strategic pause to stop drilling at Lida, and what's next with the other two projects?
With Lida, we drilled 2 holes, each 900 meters apart, each hitting the same style of alteration. So we kind of felt it was time to just take a breath there and think about how better to target. It's a big project. It had never had drill holes into it before, and so we've got many kilometres in any direction to go, and so we need to find a way to vector towards a target there. We then, I guess, have been focusing a little bit more on our Cora project, which is a copper porphyry in Arizona. The last time that one was drilled was 1960s, I think it was, and so that is again under shallow cover. It's adjacent to a small copper mine which was produced in the 1950s, and really in the heart of all the major copper production in the US, which is sort of central southern Arizona. So we've got operating projects in all directions. Yeah, really exciting place to be, and we'll be back there drilling quite soon. We're just discussing with permits and contractors at the moment to make sure we're doing everything we need to do. So
Great.
Cora will be the next one, I think, that we drill. And then, as you mentioned, Sheridan, which is a project up in Manitoba, and Sheridan is a little different to the other two because it's got a massive amount of historic data. So Sheridan is in the Flin Flon camp of Manitoba. Very well known mining district for VHMS style deposits. Has been mined for more than 100 years, and Sheridan is one of those projects that was mined 1940s and 50s, produced 8 million tonnes at about 3% copper and 3% zinc. Yeah, we're going back now and following up on some of that past work.
And would you say that Sheridan, reminds you a little bit about the Foran mining project? Because when I look at the two, I see that there's quite a few similarities, and I want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, so just across the border, there's a company called Foran, TSX listed as well, doing a great job in exploration. So Foran is also looking at a VHMS style deposit, the same as what we're looking at, called McIlvana Bay. And so they've been drilling some deep holes underneath a small resource or mine, exactly the same as what we're doing over at Sheridan. And when you think about what's near surface and what's been mined at Sheridan in the past, we can call it the smoke. These style of deposits are often associated with one really big ore body at depth, and not easy to find, takes lots of work with geophysics and drilling, but we're hoping very much to replicate what Foran mining has done in Saskatchewan.
So that's great. There's 3 exciting projects. What's the focus going forward? Is it Cora, or is it going to be Sheridan?
We're stepping through those projects. So we raised some flow-through funding late last year, and so that money will absolutely be spent up at Sheridan. It needs to be spent in Canada. We have some good hard dollars, and that's the money we're spending down at Cora. So we'll be doing 2 things in parallel. Yeah, we're a very active project generation group. We look at new projects all the time, submittals from other companies, and doing our own work in project generation as well. So that feeds the pipeline of new projects, and that's a really fun part of what we do in exploration.
That was just going to be my next question regarding new projects. Is the company looking at anything in particular? Are you guys happy with the 3 projects that you have in the portfolio?
No, looking never stops, and every geologist will tell you that. We're always out there looking over the fence at our competitors and peers about what they're doing, and we're always learning. And every hole you drill and every sample you take, you learn something new, and it gives you the opportunity to go and look in new places and come up with new ideas. And that's an essential part of the exploration business, is to sort of that refresh, keep on refreshing and keep on learning, and until you find the great deposit that it moves towards being a mine.
And just to switch focus a little bit, let's talk a little bit about the share structure for the investors that are listening right now.
Yeah, for sure. We're very tightly held company. We've got about 30 million shares outstanding, very few options and warrants outstanding. So very tightly held. We've got good money in the bank between both hard dollars and flow through. Always looking for new opportunities for partnerships and raising money, but at the moment we're in good position.
That's great to hear. And lastly, Mark, I want to get your opinion on your view on the markets right now. It's of course an interesting time. Where do you see the future of some of these commodities and metals that you mentioned, and where do you see the future?
The last 3 to 6 months has been a little bit challenging mining. The market's been a little bit flat, and we're coming off the back of a number of good years where particularly lithium, I suppose, rare earths, some of those specialty metals have had some great runs. We're in a bit of a soft period at the moment, and concerns about what's happening in China, concerns about the strength of the US market, war in Europe, all those things are sort of in people's minds when they think about investing. But the medium to long term looks extremely bright, and I see no concern about that. The energy transition, the move to electric transport, the move to renewable energy is with us. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be the rest of my lifetime, and certainly the rest of your lifetime. It'll be the major investing theme that we live with, and it puts the world in a much better place. So it's great to be part of that.
I completely agree. Thank you so much for your time today, Mark. I had a pleasure chatting with you. And for everyone listening right now, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like and subscribe. We're going to be doing these podcasts every week, so I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for your time, Mark.
Thanks, Elaine. All right, chat soon.